Alright, what is up, you guys? I am here with the 2012 WWE pay-per-view ranking. So, continuing the list here of years we're going to be ranking, all the way back to, I don't know, 85? We'll see. I don't even think yeah, I'll do 85. We'll make that a very, very short video. But, yeah, 2012, I thought was a better year than 2010 or 2011. It had its kind of highs and then its lows. But to me, there wasn't really any trash pay-per-views, which nowadays never happens. So, yeah, these were, kind of the dark times of the PG era, but not quite the dark times of the modern era. So, let's start off with, to me, the worst pay-per-view of the year. But like I said, there's nothing like trash, horrible on here. But we have Royal Rumble 2012. Gee, I wonder who won. Any hints, maybe? I don't know. You have to watch it and find out. But, yeah, the 25th anniversary, so the silver anniversary of the Royal Rumble. Here's the thing about this. Chris Jericho was originally supposed to win this, which would have been awesome. Vince wanted more of a surprise, so that's why he had Sheamus win. And then Sheamus obviously went to WrestleMania and did horrible things. Horrible, horrible things. But anyway, yeah, Chris Jericho was supposed to win this, and I think Chris Jericho would have been the perfect choice. So I think it's kind of a letdown. To me, the only match really, really worth watching on here is the Triple Threat Steel Cage match. We have Daniel Bryan, Mark Henry, and Big Show. And obviously, this was meant to make Daniel Bryan more of your legitimate champion. Which, that didn't mean anything going to WrestleMania. Now did it? You assholes. But anyway, once again, I digress. We have CM Punk and Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was always the perfect placeholder when they can't find anyone else to defend the title against. I've always said that. So yeah, overall, just not that great of a show. And even the Rumble itself, it had a few cool surprises, but other than that, nothing much to say about it, honestly. Next up, we have the return of, one of my favorite yearly pay-per-views back in the day, No Way Out. And oh boy, did this live up to the legacy. Yeah. God. So the main event, we had John Cena versus Big Show in a steel cage match, where John Laurinaitis' job was on the line. And obviously John Laurinaitis ended up getting fired. Okay, this is a pet peeve. Probably no one else this will bother anyone else. But you have John Cena and John Laurinaitis on the same cover twice. I never liked when they have the same people on the cover twice. It just looks so convoluted, and this looks like a bootleg cover, to be honest. This looks like it was made and sold on eBay. But anyway, we had CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Kane triple threat match. Decent. You had Christian versus Cody Rhodes, which sounds like a dream match, but in the world of WWE, of course it's not. Santino Marella versus Ricardo Rodriguez in a tuxedo match. Yeah, that's the highlight of the pay-per-view for sure. But yeah, No Way Out, this should never have happened. I just wish we could remember No Way Out for the great pay-per-view that it used to be. Not 2012's. Next up we have, speaking of being locked away, Elimination Chamber. Cool cover, I will say that. This saw John Cena and Kane in an ambulance match. I never liked ambulance matches personally. And this was obviously just a way to kind of get Cena to WrestleMania. Obviously, he's not losing. And then you had the two chamber matches. And once again, nothing too stellar about these chamber matches. Daniel Bryan and Santino Marella. that to me, that's just a joke. Like, it's cool to see Santino. He has talent deep down in there. Never as the Santino character, but he's not a bad wrestler, so it's kind of cool to see him chasing the gold and all that. But before WrestleMania, I'd rather see a legitimate test for your champion. And this was just, I don't know. This was just bad. It was just cheesy. Santino obviously would never beat Daniel Bryan in a perfect world. So, and we all knew he wasn't winning. It's not going to be Sheamus versus Santino Marella at WrestleMania. Although at this point, I would have rathered that. So, yeah, what am I saying? You made CM Punk look good by winning the WWE title chamber match. Overall, it's a decent stop on the road to WrestleMania, but nothing special. Next up, we have Helena Cell 2012. As much as I love CM Punk, and as bad as this cover is, it's so great. Yeah, CM Punk versus Ryback. Not a match I'd want to see contested inside Hell in a Cell, but you gotta remember, this is PG era Hell in a Cell. It's completely different. This isn't made to end rivalries. This isn't made to, you know, have a strong exhibition matchup in the cell. No. This is the day of gimmick pay-per-views, guys. And you all know how much I hate gimmick pay-per-views. I miss when Hell in a Cell matches were a surprise. You never knew when the next one was going to be. Same with, like, Money in the Bank ladder matches. You know, I'd rather it just be at WrestleMania, not on its own pay-per-view. But Sheamus and Big Show was kind of a surprise match, you know. Doesn't sound good on paper, but it ended up being pretty good. You had Team Hell No versus the Team Rhodes Scholars, back when you had Mustache Cody Rhodes. And then we had The Miz and Kofi Kingston, you know, kind of your random Intercontinental title match on a pay-per-view. Honestly, that's kind of what that is. So, overall, it's not a bad pay-per-view, but, you know, out of the Hell in a Cell series of pay-per-views, it's definitely kind of on the lower tier. Then we have Night of Champions. To me, this is very much a one-match show. We had Randy Orton versus Dolph Ziggler in a non-title match. Cesaro and Zack Ryder. Which, you know what? I'm going to say this now. Good for Zack Ryder. Matt Cardona going to AEW. Hopefully, he can be what he's always meant to be. So I say cheers, and I drink to that. Yes. Okay. So, the main event, we had CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE title. And this may not have been their strongest match. You know, they had a better match on Raw leading up to WrestleMania 29. Maybe their SummerSlam, Money in the Bank match, you know, they were better. But this was good. You know, it's a good main event. You had the screwy finish. And God, I love this cover. You have Paul Heyman kind of lurking in the background. Overall, you know, it lived up to the Night of Champions gimmick, obviously. And, you know, there's nothing, like, atrocious on this pay-per-view, but, you know, the strong match is strong, and the rest is just kind of there. Money in the Bank 2012. Gee, wonder who won this one. I've said that a lot of times on this list here. But, my God. Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk. This was their second match in their little rivalry they had, which to me should have always been a main event of WrestleMania, but never was and never will be. I don't think their match here was as good as their Over the Limit match, but we'll get to that next. You also had Sheamus and Del Rio, which felt like that match has been seen so many times. And the Money in the Bank ladder matches, you know, you had John Cena winning one, which, you know, that's cool and all, but why? Just why? Like, come on. And then your other one, I thought, had a much better ending. So, you know, with Dolph Ziggler. So, yeah, you know, You had Tensai in there as well. Holy hell. Good old Matt Bloom, A-Train, Tensai. I forgot he was even in the ladder match. Oh boy. So yeah. Overall, and I think, like I said with Helena Cell, I think this is one of the weaker Money in the Bank pay-per-views. Because Money in the Bank pay-per-views have been consistently good ever since 2010. Except for the last one. But, you know, that's not what we're talking about. But I think 2012 is kind of the weaker of the Money in the Bank line. But, you know, CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, that to me is kind of worth watching the pay-per-view for. And speaking of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, next up we have Over the Limit. In 2012, when I found out, you know, CM Punk would be facing the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, you know, I was stoked and upset at the same time. Upset that it wasn't happening on a bigger stage, but, you know, stoked that it was at least happening. And this match turned out to be everything you would want it to be, and honestly everything you would expect. And unfortunately, that's really all you have going for this show. Your main event is John Cena versus John fucking Laurinaitis, where pretty much your main moment is a fire extinguisher spot. You know, like I said, the WWE title match is phenomenal, stellar, everything you would expect it to be. And unfortunately, you know, it's on this pay-per-view. You know, you do open up with a battle royal, which is really fun. You have Fatal 4-Way for the world title, Sheamus, Del Rio, Chris Jericho, and Randy Orton, which isn't bad. But, you know, Over the Limit, you never expected it to be as good as it was, which isn't saying much, you know, because it is kind of just your average, decent pay-per-view. But the main event just severely brings it down. Next up, we have Survivor Series 2012. Team Foley versus Team Ziggler. That's kind of your main attraction here. And overall, it's not a bad Survivor Series. You have Big Show and Sheamus. You have Cesaro and R-Truth. Rey Mysterio and Sakara versus the Primetime Players. And then, of course, you have the debut of The Shield. That's what this is kind of known for. And then, you know, the triple threat match, Cena, CM Punk, and then Ryback, which isn't bad. And, you know, even Team Foley versus Team Ziggler, it may not have played out how everyone wanted it to. A lot of people wanted it to have more heat on, you know, Foley and Ziggler's side. But overall, it's a decent Survivor Series. Next up, we have SummerSlam 2012. And, you know, I like this pay-per-view. I remember the build-up to it. And, you know, as the card was starting to shape together, I was like, alright, this could be good, you know? You have Kane and Daniel Bryan. We have Chris Jericho and Dolph Ziggler. Very underrated rivalry they had. Yeah, this was when Dolph Ziggler was really stepping it up. And Chris Jericho, of course, doing everything he can to elevate Dolph Ziggler. We had Sheamus and Del Rio, once again, which feels like it happened on every pay-per-view at this point. And then, of course, your kind of big attraction was Brock Lesnar and Triple H, which there's two types of people in this world. The ones that liked this match and the ones that didn't. I liked it, but it is your average Triple H match. You know, it's a well-worked match, but when you have Triple H and Brock Lesnar, you can pretty much guess what this match is going to be. You know, it's not as good as their Steel Cage encounter, but this is better than WrestleMania 29. So, I'll take it. And then, of course, your WWE title main event with CM Punk, John Cena, and Big Show. It's exactly how it sounds. You know, it's not bad. I'd honestly just rather see it without Big Show at that point, though. Next up, we have TLC. The cover may be horrible and boring, but this is far from it. This is a great pay-per-view. We, of course, have Ryback and Team Hell No versus The Shield. And nobody quite knew how important The Shield would become, but goddamn. You know, this was a great TLC match. I only like TLC matches that end with you getting something from the roof, but whatever. Yeah, you know, we have Big Show and Sheamus. You have John Cena versus Dolph Ziggler. And, you know, a lot of the matches on here are good. They're average. But the main event, you know, you have just, like I said, the Shield versus Ryback and Team Hell No. This will go down as one of the best TLC matches of all time. It's nowhere near, you know, the early 2000s. But for the time period we are in here, this was a great TLC match. Next up, this may not be one of my favorite WrestleManias, but at number 2 on this list, I put WrestleMania 28. I'm kind of indifferent. I know I disagree with a lot of people on this WrestleMania because most people love it, whereas I'm kind of in the middle. To me, this is, you know, a 3-match show, which realistically, that may be good for a modern WrestleMania, to be honest, but I think the lowest points were pretty damn low. Team Johnny versus Team Teddy. That's a fucking joke. That was just on there for people to get on the show and get the WrestleMania payday. You have the horrible Brodus Clay segment. You have Maria Menounos and Kelly versus Beth Phoenix and Eve. You have Cody Rhodes and Big Show in just a horrible Intercontinental title match. Randy Orton and Kane was very forgettable. And then Daniel Bryan and Sheamus. That's all I have to say about that. And then we do get to the good things. We have CM Punk versus Chris Jericho, which is a great WWE title match. We have Triple H versus The Undertaker with special guest referee Shawn Michaels. The end of an era Helena Cell match. Which, this is wrestling storytelling at its absolute fucking finest. The in-ring work may not have been the greatest in the world, but I think the storytelling makes up for it. Everyone remembers where they were during this match. Nobody knew who was coming out the winner here. You know, if the streak would have ended here, I don't think as many people would have been upset. You know. And then the super kick, sweet chin music to the pedigree. Dude, I'll never forget that. I was like, holy shit, it's over. And then that to me is like the nearest near fall of all time right there. Like, goddamn. And then The Rock versus John Cena. It's not amazing, but, you know, it's a solid, like, 3.5 star match. Like, you know, it's as good as it could have been, I think. And, you know, I like the 1 year build-up. I know a lot of people didn't. I think that's a match that kind of needed the 1 year build-up, to be honest. So, I'll give him that one. So, overall, to me, I put this kind of in the middle tier of WrestleManias, but, you know, a lot of people have great memories with it, so. And then finally, the best pay-per-view of 2012 is none other than Extreme Rules. This is, I think this actually improves upon WrestleMania. You have Sheamus and Daniel Bryan 2 out of 3 falls match, which was great. Even Randy Orton and Kane in the Falls Count Anywhere match was fun. You have Cody Rhodes and Big Show, which was a good match leading up to the ending, which was just really stupid. You have Nikki Bella versus Layla for the Divas title, which I'd rather have seen that than the Maria Menounos match. Let's see, CM Punk, Chris Jericho, hometown hero right here. You know, this was in Chicago, so they had the Chicago Street Fight, which was great as well. And then John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. I really love this match, especially in the PG era. I remember seeing this, and kind of that wrestling fan in me got reignited, you know. Because, you know, 2012, like I said, it's in the middle of the PG era. You don't really expect much. So when a match like this happens, it's like, wow. You know, this is why I fell in love with wrestling in the first place. Brock Lesnar obviously should have won. It was a completely wrong move to have John Cena win this. but whatever. It is what it is. So, be sure to give me your list down below. Tell me what your favorites and your least favorites were. For now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.